Hey guys, what's up? We're back for another episode, and today we've got my man Mike Young, all right, from a plant-based diet.org. And we're going to talk about how his nonprofit is trying to transform the landscape in whole food plant-based eating. Okay, so here's the big problem. You want to live plant-based and excel at your health and performance. You're looking for real ways to change your life and the world by reducing your footprint. How do we continue to perform in every facet of our lives and do it without eating meat and following the format that's been force-fed to us our entire lives? And do it on your own terms through a plant-based diet? That's the real question, and I'll give you those answers and more. I'm Marcus Watts, and welcome to the Vegan Transition. Yeah, man, I'm really glad to just be getting to, chop it up, because I think that a lot of times I tell people too, I'm like, a lot of times these conversations are like, maybe they're more for me. This might sound bad because this is a podcast for other
It's
people.
good for both of us. Yeah, you get to
Yeah,
know
like
each
I
other
just
better.
enjoy the chance to talk with people like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Anytime you get to talk with somebody with a similar mindset and some kind of, this is obviously a struggle. This movement, it's gaining traction, but there's a lot of challenges involved with it. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, um, guys, like I'm really excited to have, Mike Young here today. He's from a plant-based diet.org, among many other things. And we met when was it that we met?
I think we might have met back in 2017, something like
Yeah,
that.
I
We did
think
our
so.
first festival in Fort Myers.
Yeah. Now that was the first Veg Fest in like Fort Myers, Bonita, right?
That's right. That was our first year. Yeah,
It was good. It was
2017.
man, the food was so good. I don't, that's the first thing I look for.
Yep, yep.
But nah, it was good. And then so since that Veg Fest, we just kind of been connecting more and more. And now I'm so excited, and honestly honored to be like the official fitness and health liaison
Yeah.
with a plant-based diet.org and just be able to give that other aspect of fitness and health, with my expertise.
Of
But
course.
dude, like please, how did you got to tell us tell us what is a plant-based diet.org, okay,
Yep.
and how did all this get started, man?
All right. Well, a plant-based diet.org is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're all volunteers, and we're just passionate about this plant-based and vegan movement and getting this into the mainstream. That's really what we want to do. And for right now, at least, we're kind of focused on the East Coast of the United States, doing local events. We've got local community groups, got all kinds of social media out there. So, but I'd say that from how it got started was really because of for me, for personal reasons. Everybody's got their reason for wanting to do something. And I think my reason developed over many years. And I think what really got me moving on this, aside from, I guess, always being concerned about my health over the years, always been concerned about it. I guess it was the internet at some point in time where you start reading things and watching videos, and you start learning about new ideas. And if you're in the health, of course, you know how the internet works. They always throw some new stuff your way
Yeah.
that's in that area of your interest. So I started learning about veganism, and I know at one point I became vegetarian and I became vegan in 2014, and that's when we started the nonprofit. Now, kind of what really pushed me in there, though, I say was a more of a personal reason. I always kind of wondered, why do people get sick, especially people who are nearing the end of their lives, because you see these people, and so many people will suffer for 5, 10 years of their life at the end. It's usually a tremendous amount of suffering. It's a tremendous amount of money involved. It's a tremendous amount of time, not only for the person who has medical problems near the end of their life, but also for all the family members and friends and people that care about them, right? It's a giant, it just sucks the life out of so many things. And I guess I always thought, well, if you could prevent that, that would be a great thing, because you could, nobody wants to spend time, when someone that's really hurting, they want them to get better. So that was really the real motivation for me, is not wanting to see that in anybody. And of course, I had my own personal examples of family members that had gone through things, and I always questioned, like, why has this person died, or why did they get sick? What made them really sick before they died? And in most cases, I could tell. This is way back when, maybe 10 years ago. that, or even more, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was something that they probably could have prevented themselves. They probably, if they knew enough. And most people don't know enough, so that's kind of what that motivated me to move on with the nonprofit. And I'd say that there was another thing that happened about 20 years ago to me, which is I went to the doctor and my cholesterol was high. That really got the ball rolling to before I became vegetarian in, I'd say, 2009, and then vegan in 2014. It's just the learning process that learning that I had a high cholesterol and that it was preventable. That all leads up to where we are today with what we're doing with the nonprofit.
I think that there are some people that are going to hear and they're going to be like, okay, well, yeah, my friend got, sick with this or whatever. And it's not right to say that it's, that it was preventable. I think that what you have to understand is the stuff that we're getting into are the foods that you're putting in your body, the bacteria that's living in your gut, that because you need a certain amount of healthy bacteria.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these diseases and things are lying dormant in your body, and it's what you're putting into your body or what you're not, or what you're doing to your body or what you're not, is going to make that active, or it's going to remain dormant. So, a lot of these, and I always say this, Mike, I'm like, look, just go do some studies on it. But the things that you're talking about are so great because you're basically just saying, starting with the thing that we can control, which is what, and probably one of the most important, what you're putting in your body, like what you're choosing to consume or not consume, right?
Yep. Well, like you said earlier, it's a two-part thing. And, the doctors will usually say, well, people will say, well, it's genetic, like you're trying to say, right? Oh, I can't do anything. Of course, most of the doctors who are enlightened and have read the science, they'll say something like, well, your genes loads the gun, but you pull the trigger.
100%.
Yeah. So, it doesn't have to happen.
You have to look at there are some of the best studies out there are done on like identical twins. And this is at like a cellular level and like a physiological level too, to where example, right? You got two twins, right?
Yeah.
Exactly this. There's nothing different about them. One twin gets bullied and chooses to kind of recede, where the other twin gets bullied and chooses to push back. At that point, there's a change at a molecular level, at a cellular level. It's the same thing with something. Again, you're choosing to be like, all right, well, this is what's set, right? My family has this. My family has that. We got high blood pressure. But that doesn't set the tone for what has to happen. That's just what you're predisposed to. Listen, my family's all tall guys. We're really predisposed to skinny legs. You know what I mean? So what you got to do, lift. Gotta lift. I don't know about my calves. That's a lot more work, but no, awesome. And so when exactly did a plant-based-diet.org start? Tell me a little bit more about how it works and all the people, because we have like a really extensive network of professionals, and what really was appealing to me to get involved were the doctors.
Yes. Okay. Well, we did start in 2014 as our nonprofit, and that's the year I went vegan. And then at the time, I realized, I didn't know anybody. I don't know anybody that's vegan in 2014. This was like the dark ages. It was 5 years ago.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no friends, no family. So I got on the internet and I started up some vegan groups in areas that I spend time. And those have just grown and grown and grown. And that's kind of what started the Southwest Florida Veg Fest when we started that. And we had that inaugural event in 2017. It was all because of the social media. So we got social media in a number of cities in Florida, in Raleigh Triangle area in North Carolina, DC area, also up in New England. We're doing a Veg Fest up there in New Hampshire this year, and that's in July. So these are the resources we have. We have not only vegan resources, because these are exclusively vegan groups, but we also have a lot of just community-based social media, especially in Raleigh, in the Raleigh area, Raleigh and Wake Forest. So we've been real successful with that, and that's kind of my something that really I was fortunate to develop, because one of the groups there in the Raleigh area has about 48,000 people in it, and that's in a town called Wake Forest, and there's about 48,000 people in the town, and it's incredibly active. It's 250,000 interactions a month, and ideally we want this movement to go in the mainstream. So we use tools like this to kind of spread the word to people. We don't throw it in anybody's face, but when questions come up,
Right.
you gotta use that as an opportunity, and help people, because that's how we're looking at it. We're looking at to help people. I don't want people to suffer, right? I mean, that's why we're doing this. And like you mentioned with the health, some of the things that you can't control. There's some freak things that happen to people that
Right.
are nobody wants to happen, and we can't control this. But I think that most, probably like 75%, are lifestyle diseases, lifestyle choices, and that's our role is educating, in that area. And I want to also mention that we are a 100% vegan organization, so everything that we do is at a minimum completely vegan.
Yeah.
So we are very sensitive to the ethical component and also the environmental component as well.
Mhm. How many doctors do we have on staff actually?
Okay, well,
Or
right now,
on the team, on the team.
yeah, right now we've got a couple. We've got our first person to come on was Dr. Brian Tashner, who's in Southwest Florida. He is a plant-based cardiologist, and he heads up our team that is developing and already has developed, but is ongoing reviewing our certification. And our certification helps people to easily identify foods that are what we call the healthy vegan food. Because veganism is a complicated thing. Just because something's vegan doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. And in a lot of cases right now, with what we're seeing going into the mainstream, we're seeing a lot of transitional products or even vegan junk food, I'd like to call them, because some of them have very dubious health benefits, if any. Some of them are actually, I'd say, negative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I mean,
we don't want.
you're still getting an inordinate amount of like sugars and there are processed foods in there and
Yeah,
the biggest point that you made I love is, and I actually did an episode on this about vegan doesn't mean healthy. Look, you still need to be, and I'm not about like 100. Listen, I call it like the 80-20 rule. Like, listen, 80% of the time, you're locked in, you're doing the right things, you're eating the right things. Other 20% of the time, like, enjoy yourself. But that's the
yeah,
problem that we have in our society. It's the lack of moderation. And
true.
due to that, things that you're talking about, listen, are these transitional products, can they help? Yeah, they can definitely help. But if that's all you're having, you're still
Yeah.
not having food that's at its core the most nutrient dense and naturally occurring.
Yeah, and the ability to prevent and reverse disease, so that's how we're looking at it. And some of these foods are just not that way. So we want to identify, like we use this certification. It says certified on this logo that we have. And if you want to find out about it, you can go to healthyveganfood.info, and it takes you right to our page there that describes it.
Hmm.
And at all of our events, at our Veg Fest events, we're going to have close to 10 of them in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That
I'm gonna try to
we
be at all of them.
yeah, that'd be great. Well, we give we this is a free program we give to our vendors, and we also give to restaurants, stores, anybody who sells or distributes food is eligible. It's no cost, but especially at our events, we give them banners, we give them tabletop displays, so that they can folks going by can just see the emblem and say, hey, where's your certified item? That's what I want, And right now, our certified items have are free of oil. That's one of the stipulations we have. No added oil, no oil as an added ingredient, because oil occurs naturally in many, or if not most or all plants, but it doesn't have to be added. And that's when we run into an issue. If you ever look at your product, your label there, if you see oil as an added ingredient, it's probably not a health food. So we won't certify anything like that. And
And this is where when it's funny that you just mentioned cardiologists, because we have on the staff that I was speaking at, we had two doctors. Like I said, one of them was a cardiologist, and they were talking about the difference between like vegan and like whole food
yeah,
plant-based. And
yes, yes.
can you dig into that a little bit, because
Oh
that's
yeah.
more of the direction that you're talking about. And sometimes people are like, oh well, plants are plants, but understanding like what goes into it, can you break that down for us?
Absolutely. Well, in addition to our local vegan groups, in almost all the areas, we have a local whole food plant-based group, or WFPB for short. That's actually on my license plate. That's what it says.
That's
And
awesome.
whole food plant-based basically means whole or minimally processed plants.
Hmm.
All right. So no chemicals. I mean, because there are so many chemicals. If you look at some of this food coming out, transition loaded with chemicals. You don't want to have any chemicals in there, because chemicals always have side effects. It's kind of like just one of the reasons why you learn that pharmaceutical drugs have a lot of negative side effects. It's because they're chemicals. It's just part of what happens. So you don't want to eat those as a food either. So whole food plant-based does not include that. And then it doesn't include highly processed versions of food, such as
Hmm.
juice, believe it or not, is a
Oh
highly
my
processed
gosh.
version of a food. And but oils, especially oil, oil is another. Oil is tremendously worse than juice, I would say, okay, because oil has almost all the good stuff removed, if not all the good stuff. And
And,
all
and
the
and
liquids,
why do they remove the good stuff from the oils? Why is it that that actually happens? And I want to come back to the juices too, because I want to talk about like
okay, okay.
processed juices versus like naturally squeezed juice, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well. In terms of the oil, they just use that to mimic the fatty taste of animal product foods because it is almost 100% fat. It's tremendously high in calories. It only fills up a tiny bit of your stomach, and then you feel hungry again, so you eat more. It encourages you to eat even more. So it's not really had. It doesn't have any benefits other than on your palate.
Yeah,
But,
that's a good point. So just to add a little bit on this, what Mike's talking about here, guys, is whenever we speak about eating nutrient dense foods, the reason that we talk about that is because when you eat nutrient dense foods, you get the minerals and you get the vitamins. Those are going to make your body feel like it's fulfilled. In the absence of proper amounts of minerals, proper amounts of vitamins, essential minerals, essential vitamins, your body's going to continue to search. I feel like I mentioned this book a lot, but there's a really good book, Mike. It's called The Dorito Effect. And the Dorito, it's not a vegan book, but the Dorito Effect speaks about the industry. Doritos, literally, you
oh
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, and it's the flavor of cheddar, it's grape juice, it's the flavor of grape.
Oh yeah.
The example I give is when you go and you look in a gas station and you're thirsty, there's something that jumps out, right? And then you see it, you're like, I want that. You think that you naturally chose that, but you actually didn't because your
Right.
body recognizes the essential minerals and vitamins that it's missing. And nature has told us, right? The human organism has learned that when I have grape, that I have these minerals and these essential vitamins. When I have peach or mango, I'm getting these essential minerals and these essential vitamins. But then you're not getting that because just like you're saying, it's a
Right.
processed food, it's a filler, it's flavored. So now what happens? Your body feels like it has to have something else in order to fill it up. That's why, with McDonald's and all that, people are eating a ton of
Right.
that and they're still hungry. Mike is saying the same thing is happening here. These oils and things are added in, but they don't actually have any. It's like, why would I have olive oil?
Right. All
Just
the
go eat
fiber's
the
gone.
olive. The
All the
olive is
fibers.
going to give
Right.
me all the nutritional benefits as well as the
Exactly.
naturally occurring oils.
That's it. Yeah. And all the fiber's gone. Right. All the good stuff from that olive is gone. The only thing you're left with is almost like a waste product. And let's think about it this way. We've all been trained to not pour grease or oil down the drain, right? After you're done cooking with. Well, why would you want to eat that? Why would you want to put it in your own body if you
Mike,
you
I
can put it
never
down
thought
the
about that.
drain? Yeah, it's
Never
bad. I
thought
mean, why
about
would you
that.
treat your drain better than you would your plumbing, better than your own body?
Hmm.
It does the same thing. It clogs you up inside. That's truly what happens, with this stuff. So anyway, let me you go back to the doctors. You mentioned, Dr. Brian Tashner is a plant-based cardiologist. He helps us to develop the standard. We also have Dr. Michael Clapper, who has been a legend in this movement. He's been around for decades, and he's actually got a new initiative where he is attempting to talk to medical schools and make sure that they give proper nutritional teachings to doctors because they hardly get any of it these days. So he's someone else who's affiliated with us as a physician, and we have several other physicians as well that are affiliated with us. In addition to yourself, Marcus, and because we need. I think Marcus, what you do is incredibly important because I'd say that you're right on the ground. You're right. You're right where the action is because no matter how much scientific evidence you give somebody, they have to want to and be able to do this change.
Mhm.
This lifestyle change. And I'd say that at this point in time, that's probably the biggest holdback that I see is people not knowing how to change their lifestyle. Just like I didn't know how to be a vegan in 2014, which is
Yeah.
why I had to go out and create all these groups on social media.
Yeah.
But everybody's has social media now, but they still, with the average person, I could do that, but the average person needs like a circle of accountability and friends who are right there to help them. And I think that that's where you're coming in too with the
Yeah.
work that you're doing.
Definitely, man. No, no, no. Thank you. I mean, it really is like being able to, like we were talking about before, just the hundreds and hundreds of people that have been in the gyms and the different types of lifestyles and different types of issues and, working with the doctors and the SWAT teams and universities, it's like I just identify with the everyday person
Yeah.
as someone who is like, an expert, so to speak. It was hard for me to find information. Like you're talking about in 2014, bro, like, because it was around the same time for me that I started the journey. I didn't go full
Yeah.
vegan. I just started transitioning. And it was like, where do I go for information? It's like people are like treating me like it's the plague if I ever even speak about it. It was a crazy time.
Oh
And just
yeah.
like, to think now is like that wasn't too long ago. So I was like, man, imagine if I was somebody who wasn't confident in this and didn't have the years of experience of working with specialists and being able to decipher all the crap from the real. I was like, man, that might be hard. So I just remember I kind of set out once I saw that, I could be big and strong and, the stuff with pulmonary embolism I reversed on my own.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, so this is my calling now. This is my mission. And I just took it. I started wearing it as a badge of honor to be like, everybody, it's funny, Mike. I digress a little bit, but a girl messaged me the other day on Facebook and she was like, thank you so much for being a representative for the community. She was like, I'm a small, short, skinny, you know, girl that looks like I don't really live. And then she's like, but when they see you, now they have to respect it. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, like that's why I took it on. So I can
Yeah.
definitely identify. Man, let me ask you this. What's been, and then we'll go back to the juice thing because I want you to really help people to
Yeah.
understand that. What do you think has been the biggest change since 2014 when you took all this on, when there wasn't Beyond Meat and there wasn't the Impossible Burger and you didn't have David Carter and What's Good Berto and the Sustainable Duo and all these people that we now have, Conscious Muscle, that are in our immediate Florida community,
Yeah.
Badass Vegan, what was it like for you back then? What's that change kind of been? What's the biggest change you've seen?
Well, I'd say that when we first started in 2014, from a organizational standpoint, we struggled to get any kind of events together. And a lot of times the events just weren't that successful because people weren't quite ready for it. But I think that the biggest change to me is that there's actually an awakening going on right now. I say that I can actually see
That is the word to use, man.
an awakening, and because of that, I mean, I'm working like crazy these days, okay, with the nonprofit, but I'm so thankful for that because that means that all these opportunities are opening up. People's minds are opening up. Because of that, I can create more and more events through the organization, and they're becoming successful, and they're very valuable. People are thankful that we're doing them. So that's the biggest change. That to me is amazing because I felt like the organization needed to be started 5 years ago because it was so badly needed. But I didn't see the people receiving it as well. But now people are receiving it. People are benefiting from it, and that's what I love to see. Really.
That's great, man. We started to touch on juices. Can
Yeah.
you give people an understanding of a juice like Minute Maid, right? Versus like me actually taking oranges, squeezing some juice out, which still has a high sugar content, but it's naturally occurring. Can you break down like what those differences are and why that's something that people need to be more aware about?
Well, I mean, I'd say with any kind of food. So, well, actually, let me go back to our mission statement for our nonprofit, which I haven't mentioned yet. We are advocating a veganic whole plant lifestyle. Okay, let's go back to the orange here you're talking about. Well, where are you getting this orange? Where's it coming from? I'd say so many of the plants that you obtain in the stores are not organic, for one thing, because everybody knows organic. What's that code for? That means it's code for twice as much, usually, because it usually costs almost twice as much. It shouldn't have to. It doesn't need to. But the chemicals that they use when they grow things non-organic and the GMOs that they use create some efficiency so they can do things less expensive. Unfortunately, there are, we believe, likely side effects to those foods. So let's say the Minute Maid. I don't think Minute Maid makes organic juice. So that would be the first thing I would say. And the other thing is, it's not a fresh product. there is also some evidence that says, you know, when you freeze something, that it changes it. So like food that you put in a smoothie, for instance, that's fresh may be handled differently in the body from something that's been frozen. So there's a difference potentially right there. And I couldn't comment on exactly what it is.
Yeah, I don't have the data on it, but it's not the same as like microwaving it because there's something completely different happening. That's obviously that, you know, the molecules are vibrating. That's why it's warming up. But no, completely.
Yeah, and then in terms of that, I mean, as long as you're using a quality, you know, fruit and juicing it, you're getting a lot of the nutritional value. And
Right.
but who knows? You just don't know if when you're buying it frozen from somewhere else. However, you know, as I mentioned, juice is not considered a whole food product because what happens is when you do juice it, all that fiber in the orange, sometimes you get pulp in there, right? Sometimes, depending
Yeah,
on how
yeah.
you do it. But that's almost always removed. So that what ends up happening is I think the biggest negative with juice because you're getting a lot of the vitamins. Say in oil, you're not getting vitamins at all in most cases, but with juice, you are. Unfortunately, because juice is usually done with fruits, you're getting a big boost of sugar all at one time. I say that's the biggest thing that people are concerned about is that it's an unnaturally high concentration of sugar. You see, as opposed to another form like a smoothie. The smoothie, you throw the whole. I guess you'd peel the orange and throw the whole orange in your blender, right? That's
Yeah.
a different. That's more of the whole food product, even though it's cut up. Okay, it's not as ideal as eating just the orange itself. It's kind of a halfway point. It's decent, you know.
For sure, man. So when people are asking these questions about making better decisions, when people are asking these questions about why they should go plant-based, what is it that the doctors that are a part of a plant-based diet.org, what is it that's like the general consensus and explanation to people? Because I think that, again, like I love going to speak with doctors because it's just so cool to have the conversations, but having doctors that also believe in this lifestyle is so amazing. And another reason why I wanted to work with a nonprofit.
Yeah.
What is it that the doctors are saying generally? And I know that we're going to end up probably having a few of them, if not all of them, on this show, which would be cool.
Yeah.
But like, what's the general consensus? Like, what are they suggesting?
No, say in order to make a transition.
Right. In order to make that transition.
Well, it depends on the doctor, I'd say, because I'd say like if I know from listening to Dr. T. Colin Campbell, he's like you got to go all in. You know, you just gotta, you know, yeah, you might be able to if you're trying to transition, you might be able to go 90% vegan or plant based, and then 10% animal products, but people don't know where that is or how to moderate properly. I'd say in general, you know, so that the best thing to do is just to go all in. I'm not gonna. I
That's
won't.
his approach.
I guess I won't. I shouldn't say cold turkey unless it's cold
Yeah.
turkey. That's not a vegan term. But
Yeah.
yeah, you just gotta go for it. And I'd say that that's when you're going to realize the most health benefits as well is by making just a complete change, a complete switch like that. And the health benefits, you noticing the health benefits is going to motivate you even more. I know it did with me, you know, 19 years ago when I came back from the doctor and he told me that, you know, my cholesterol was high. That's when I started making the changes. And at the time, like this movement wasn't happening 19 years ago. You know, the most you could be, it seemed like was vegetarian 19 years ago. So I just cut out the worst stuff. I did a transition, but that was a really slow and a long transition. And there's no reason why that needs to happen today in 2019.
No, for sure.
There's so many great food products, transition products. You can just go for it.
Yeah, because that's the like I find, and I completely agree with. There are a couple really great points there, that doctor made, and like one of them is that like you will see that you can see like that whole switch over of like how your body's performing.
Yeah.
I think that where most people struggle is they don't have the information. They're not prepared. So like for myself personally, unless someone has done the research and got the testing and they have an in-depth understanding of general caloric intake, you know what I'm saying, versus expenditure, and an understanding of essential minerals and vitamins that you need to intake and all the other things that go with it, proper hydration, how much water you should be drinking, proper sleep, you know, things like that.
Right.
I don't ever recommend it just going cold turkey plant-based
Okay.
because you don't have enough information. You're not prepared for it. It's just like with a fitness
Okay.
program. With most people, the only time I would suggest that you would go, and again, this is where it depends on the person. The only time I would suggest that you just dive into a full program is if you have the nutrition, you've got a plan for training, you got a plan for combating setbacks, and you got somebody that's a mentor that's either doing it or has done it, so that way they can kind of guide you along the way,
That's a good point. Yeah.
But I still think that exactly, and like for me, I transition, right? But I still think that exactly what that doctor said is so true. Like you will, if you have all those things, your sleep, your hydration, you understand calories in versus calories out, you understand all those things, your body will just immediately. So I didn't struggle. Like I didn't just go 100% like straight vegan, but I stopped having I pretty much stopped having meat. I wasn't having dairy. I was having like some fish and eggs. But like I completely removed that out of my diet and just was replacing it with like 4 times the amount of greens that you're supposed to have in a day, pretty much.
You were trying to combat your health issue at the time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I was trying to combat it. So I was like, I was a lot more focused in like, there's a reason why I'm doing it. And 2, I have an understanding of if I'm going to take something out of my diet, my body's going to fight it. So I need to make sure I'm getting enough vitamins and minerals. So like, average they say is, like a serving of or like a handful of greens every meal. I was like, nah, 2, 3, sometimes 4. And because of that, it was easy for me to make the changeover.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And I think it all depends on like if the change is happening because of a known health problem.
Yeah. That's a great point.
You have all that information, and that I would think if there is a health problem, there's a greater reason to go 100%
greater reason
way. But if you don't, then there's not really that motivation. I don't think there's even a necessity necessarily. Because for instance, let's talk about, you talk about whole food plant-based. Well, one of the doctors that's been around this movement for forever, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, he's a cardiologist and he's done, many bypass surgeries, and he was the first guy to get a clue and say, hey, wait a minute, this animal products are clogging my patients up. And I think he has also recognized, along with Dr. Campbell, very early on, that this whole food plant-based is the key to health, especially in those that are most sick. So
that's a great one right there, man. Those that are, for instance, like when we were in Lancaster, they were speaking a lot about how type 1 diabetes, obviously that's different, but type 2 diabetes was shown to be like completely reversible through a whole food plant-based diet.
Yeah. So if you're sick, if you're very, 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 very ill with a lifestyle disease, and this is known by your doctor, I would say those people want to go 100% right away. And that's why Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn agrees with Dr. Campbell with the whole food plant-based, because if we talk about oil, right? What's wrong with oil? Very high in fat, unnatural, and almost all of the good stuff is gone. Well,
all the nutrients. Yeah.
Yes. There's another thing that you got to watch out for. If you're a heart patient, if you have a coronary artery disease or something similar, is that you need to watch the high fat plant foods for the same exact reason. Because if you OD on nuts, seeds, and avocados, which are the known very high naturally occurring fat plant foods, you're going to cause the same sorts of issues as if you're consuming added oil in your food. So like Dr. Esselstyn says, they can't have them. Like his patients don't have any of that stuff. And that's where that started with. So you also got to think about, it's also something to think about, even if you don't have a known heart condition, that if you're eating vegan or plant-based, if you're, say, eating a lot of these cheeses that they have out there, right? You got lots of vegan cheeses. Some of them are incredible these days. I mean, just in the last few years, there's this incredible.
In the last couple of years, it blows my mind.
Yeah, so they're incredible. But unfortunately, most of them are either a concoction of chemicals, which you don't want to eat, and you got to read those ingredients carefully, and or nut-based cheeses. So it means incredibly high fat because of nuts. So it's almost like getting fat by oil again. If something is made of cashews, for instance, it's an incredible amount of cashews that you wouldn't normally eat. And a lot of cheeses is ice creams. A lot of ice creams are like that are vegan. So you got to pay really good attention to that, because
that's a good point. I was looking at like the servings of like a coconut milk based because like when I was sick, we were talking about being sick, like like I couldn't chew a bunch of stuff because my throat was inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
So my girlfriend actually got me like a couple like sorbets, and one thing she also got like a coconut based ice cream.
Yeah, they're delicious. I'll tell you that.
No, tasted amazing, but I was just looking at the sugar content and I was like, it was like 32 grams of sugar per serving, and it was like 5 servings inside of the thing. And I was like, damn, okay, like I'm having this right now. It's not a normal thing for me to do. But if I sat down and ate this whole thing, like, Jesus, it's not. And again, looking at the ingredients, most of them are not just like water, you know what I mean? Coconut milk. And no, it's some other things in there still. Is it better than having dairy? Maybe, maybe not. It's still not the most naturally occurring.
And if you look at the fat content and even the saturated, especially on coconut, the saturated fat content is unbelievably high. So, the reason I bring this stuff up is because just because you go vegan, like we said, it doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy, but also just because you go vegan doesn't mean you're going to lose any weight. And I've known people that gain weight.
Yeah.
When they go vegan.
You know what's funny is for me initially, like David Carter, because we have this conversation a lot. Initially, I lost 15 pounds, but then, bro, I find it easy now. Like I never could break over 225 when I was a pro. It was hard for me. I find it easy now. If I wanted to be 260 right now, I could easily be. I'm about 228. I could easily, because it's so easy for me to take in the calories because I'm eating like more dense foods. Now they're packed with nutrients and vitamins and stuff, but you're very, very right. And listen, I'm not casting any, I'm not saying looking down on anybody, but when you go to a lot of the veg fest, you are seeing people who have a very high level of, like, just like at any festival, of fat mass. And I'm like, it's simple. They're just taking in a lot more calories than they expend. And also couple that with a lot of these things that you're talking about, which are very insightful, Mike.
And I'd say that's a newer trend. I mean, it's always been a trend where just because you go vegan doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose weight. But I'd say the newest trend that I noticed, and I even noticed it myself, is that because of the availability of these transitional foods and the easy availability, I'm reaching for them more than I would in the past. Just in the past few years,
they're everywhere. They're everywhere, Mike. They're everywhere.
Yes, yeah, I know. So I have to watch that now. I didn't used to have to. A few years ago, I didn't have to watch my weight being vegan, no problem. But now I'm noticing that. So
yeah, and again, that just comes down very simply, guys, to the amount of calories that you're taking in versus the calories that you're expending. When I'm training 3 hours a day, back when I was training like that, and when I was Olympic lifting 5 days a week and doing conditioning 4 days a week and playing basketball, that was different. I was consuming about, 5,000 calories on average. If I didn't have 1,300 calories at breakfast, it was going to be a rough day for me. But but that's where so much of this comes into play, man. That's really, really great information to share. So, Mike, tell me this. If you had to give people, if we were helping people to start to navigate moving to a more whole food, plant-based lifestyle, give me your top tips for people in order to recognize that. Because again, that I was very intrigued. I'll tell everybody one last time before you answer that. Like, what intrigued me about working with you guys, and the reason I ask, me, I ask a lot of questions, is because most of these nonprofits, people, and I'm not talking, listen, if you run a nonprofit and you're also using it to take care of this, like I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but a lot of these nonprofits, I can't stand behind people with these $80, $100, $200,000 salaries, and there's not as much going into like the actual nonprofit and the actual systems. It's all events and stuff to bring attention to something, where you guys are, like you said, what are we doing? Putting on 10 events in 2020 alone.
Those are annual events. Yeah.
No one on staff, no one on the board.
Yes, right.
You have like 5 other businesses, because you know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm not pulling the money off of the nonprofit. Yeah, but it's my passion, right? So and I like I said, I'm so thankful that even though it's taking up more of my time and I'm giving up things other places because of it, I'm very thankful that the opportunity is there and that we're able to provide these valuable experiences for people.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, okay, back to the question. You're talking about whole
Whole
food
food. Yeah.
plant-based. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me also mention, along with that, I also want to, you probably see that that's the thing, like our events, like all of our events, not just our annual Veg Fest, but we do a lot of local events that happen
A lot.
every month, at different locations, different restaurants. We get restaurants on board. We love having restaurants, participate. And all of our events are completely vegan. So, we'll support anything. We'll support anyone. Okay. As long as they're willing to recognize that this veganism is a good step. Okay. Because that's where it all starts. A lot of people, they'll just recognize that, whether it's for, realizing that there's environmental issues going on that's going to help that, or they don't want animals to get hurt anymore, or they're looking at their health, or some combination of that. We will take that on, because that is the low end. I'm just saying that's the low end of what we fully support it. Even if someone only cares about just being vegan, for the environment, okay, we support them. Even if they don't care about their health, we support them. That's fine. But we want to bring them into the movement locally and just worldwide. But ideally, it's locally in your own community, which is why we have these events, to where you meet people and you start talking about this, start asking questions, and then
Yeah.
transition ultimately to whole food plant-based. I mean, that's the ultimate transition, I'd say.
Mhm.
We may never get some people may never make that transition, and that's fine. But will anybody who at some point says that they are vegan is very, very open to new ideas.
Right.
So,
Open to the idea. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that it takes a lot of willpower. It doesn't take as much as it used to, because there's, like, just from the food aspect, you can find the food out almost anywhere now. But
Right.
it still takes a tremendous amount of willpower, because you go to your relative's house for Thanksgiving and maybe they're not going to have anything for you to eat. I mean,
Yeah. Literally.
it takes a lot of willpower. You have to cause a little bit of a confrontation at some point with people that relationships that you have. So we think that those people are open. So in terms of moving towards whole food plant based, we take people where they are, and we will help them if they want to be helped, to learn about that at their own pace. And that's why we offer not only things that are just someone who's vegan for the environment or vegan for the animals can appreciate. We also offer something that someone who is most concerned about their health, because I don't know, their husband is dying of heart disease right now. Okay,
Right.
like, because those people that need the most help. So
Mhm.
we take that whole range, because there are many organizations, I'd say, that are either just vegan for one reason, or they're only going to discuss stuff if it's whole food plant based, and they're not going to deal with that in between, because that's where most people are. I think that as veganism moves into the mainstream, most people are going to be stuck in between those 2 points and not know what to do, or not even know what they want to do.
Mm.
So that's the purpose of what we want to do, is we want to help out people in that whole process. It's a process. It was a process for me.
Yeah.
I know it's a
Process for
for you,
all of
Marcus. I
us.
mean, it's a process. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
So if I'm going shopping, right, what are some things, and I'm trying to focus on being whole food plant based. Give me some tips. Give my audience some tips so they can take
Okay.
actionable steps toward
All
what
right.
I'm
Well,
saying, just being
for
aware
me,
more than anything.
I like it easy. Okay. I don't like to have to cook. I'll tell you. We we have cooking demonstrations at our events. We deal with chefs. Actually, we just had a no added oil vegan cooking class in Naples, Florida last week. We have these types of things, but I don't like to cook, so I make it easy. So, like, we're talking about juice versus smoothies. I like to make smoothies. I have one almost every day.
Big
And
on smoothies, yeah.
the one danger with smoothies, if in a transition for somebody, is getting too many calories too quick, because it's easy to just, once you
Very
blend it
easy.
up, just chug it all down, and next thing you know, that's 1,000 calories or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
I mean, it's got tons of fiber in it, but still, it may be more than you need for that meal. But I'd say, as long as you recognize that, go make a smoothie with whatever you like. I like to, I like to make mine a little sweet, and I do that. I put usually some plant milk with some dates in there and make a paste out of it first, blend it up real nice, and then I'll put tons of spinach, which is that's the real nutrients.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
The spinach,
Greens.
okay, maybe some kale, and then I'll add the fruits in on top of that, whatever fruit you happen to like. I put blueberries, mangoes, strawberries, raspberries. I think that's yeah, that's about it. That's what I use.
Mhm.
and I'll have one of those almost every day. It's mostly green. It's more than half spinach is what I put in mine. So that's easy way to do it, because that's most people would still consider that whole food plant based because it's
Yeah.
minimally processed.
Right, right, right.
It's the whole food you're throwing in. You're messing with the fiber molecules a little bit by spinning
Yeah,
it
yeah.
out, right? And you're concentrating it so you don't want to drink too much. But outside of that, I think it's a good way to go. So I like things made in the blender. Another thing I like that is a real favorite of mine, like, because we were talking about ice cream and vegan junk food, and you want to move away from cow's milk ice cream anyway, right? So if you're transitioning, you want to go to whole food plant based. Here's my version of like a whole food plant based ice cream, because I love ice cream. I'm telling you, I love chocolate. I love
Yeah.
ice cream. I finally settled on this. Basically, it's almost like a smoothie, but this is what I do.
Yeah, nice cream is what we call
Yeah,
it.
that's it. Yeah. Well, so I'll do the same thing I do with my smoothie. First, I'll make a date paste to make it sweeter. Okay. And then I have to prepare, because in order to make the nice cream correct, this what I found is, first of all, you got to buy organic bananas. That's what I do. You got to buy them well ripened. You don't want to buy them green. They never turn out right when you bring them home if they're green.
Yeah, they're best when they're first off, they're the sweetest and they have the highest concentration of like nutrients.
Yes.
I just freeze my bananas. I just like, once they
Yes.
start to if we can't get them ripe, just once they go ripe, then I just freeze them in a container, and now I got them for when I need them.
Yeah. So okay. So that's what I'll do. I'll get those bananas. I'll keep them at home if I need to, out for a couple of days, and put them in a paper bag to speed it up if I want. Get them all speckly with spots all over them, not soft and mushy, but speckly, like you're saying. So they're ripe. Then I cut them up and freeze them. It's got to freeze for at least 24 hours. Then you throw them in the date paste, add a little bit more milk. Well, actually, before I add those, what I'll do is I'll flavor it, because, like I said, I love chocolate. So we got to get cocoa powder. I usually get the organic cocoa powder. Actually, the one at Whole Foods is one I like the best. It's least expensive too, but it also tastes the best. Put that in. I also put some organic. There's like, you can get this peanut butter powder stuff you can get. I get it at Harris Teeter, depending on where you are, I don't know. But it's put that in. That's flavors it. So it's like chocolate, all right, and peanut butter. That's
Yeah.
So I'll mix that in the date paste to get it all mixed around. Then I'll throw in the bananas. And you need a high power blender, by the way, like a vitamin.
Yes, you do need a high powered blender.
Because if they're frozen for at least 24 hours, they're like rocks in there, you know?
Yeah.
And then blend it up, and it tastes amazing. That's my like whole food ice cream. Again, it's blended, so it's not totally whole food.
Yeah.
But here's the other hacks I do. Like when I'm traveling, I just go straight to the organic produce aisle. You get some of those,
Right.
blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. If they're in season, strawberries are only in season like one time a year.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
and I'll just eat those as I'm driving. That's what I eat. I mean, that's my snack.
Same thing.
Or it could be a meal for me. Or even here's another hack for going whole food plant based is it's easy too. This is like no preparation. I'll go get a bag at Whole Foods or even your local grocery store. Even Walmart has an organic section now of the little petite carrots in the bags, But you have to go to Whole Foods to get this, unless you can find another product. Let me know. The Engine 2 hummus. Okay, Engine 2, they just revised their stuff. Their stuff is now fully organic. Engine 2 is a line of food products you can get at Whole Foods that has no added oil, no added salt, no added sugar. So their hummus is just straight hummus. It's not full of oil, because most hummus has a lot of oil.
I actually want to try to make my own hummus at home. I want to see how it goes.
Yeah, if you can do it, man. I just don't. I'm not a cooker. I'm not a chef. So I buy the Engine 2. I know like Plant Pure also sells some. That's another one. So these require the smallest amount of preparation. Now, if you want no preparation, there are products that are out there that are whole food plant based that you don't have to cook. You can actually just stick it in your oven or the microwave. Okay, like Plant Pure. If you go online, they have a line of frozen foods, and actually they're at a lot of the grocery stores. I think Publix has them now. Whole food plant based. Okay, I think most of their ingredients are organic, and then there's and they're frozen. And then there's Mama Says. They're out of Vermont. They're actually up in where we're doing the Veg Fest.
Okay.
They sell refrigerated whole food plant-based foods that are already prepared. Okay. Again, super easy. If you don't like to cook,
just got to do some research and find the stuff. Yeah.
And both of these you can order online. Mama Says you can order online. Plant Pure can order online. I think, like I said, Plant Pure is in some grocery stores. Mama Says told me that they're going to be in some grocery stores.
Mama Says is like, you said that's the prepped meals, right?
Yes, they are fresh. They only have a shelf life of about a week, 10 days, maybe something like that. So you got to order them and order a big box, and then that's your food for the next week. And
Mm.
you can freeze them if you want, but it won't taste quite as good.
Oh, it's like SEZZ. Oh, this is good.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. You got
I
it.
just found them
so
online.
so those are the hacks. I mean, because if you do the things that I just said, there's very little time involved. Now, if you're a chef, this is another. There's many cookbooks. There's like the
Yeah.
Plant Your Nation cookbook. There's the
Yeah, I got
Institute
Thug
Diet
Kitchen right
by
here.
Mark.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, everybody. Gregor's got a cookbook. So there's so many cookbooks out there. That's what I would do. Get your hands on a cookbook if you like to cook. I just don't have the time, energy, or desire because thankfully I've got so much to do with all this other stuff. I just got to make sure that everybody gets certified foods out where I go so I can eat healthy. Right,
I like it.
I go
I
to the
like it, man.
restaurants.
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate you, coming on to share all this, talk about, the mission that you guys have, with the nonprofit and just sharing a little bit, man. I really do, man. Is there, bro, Mike, tell everybody, where they can check out, the best place to go get information, how they can get on the mailing list and hear about the events.
Yeah. Well, you can go to our website, our nonprofit site, aplantbaseddiet.org. You can get on a mailing list. Actually, you can send us an email there. If you want to get to any of our local groups, they're all on Facebook, our vegan groups. We got like vegandc.org, vegantriangle.org, veganswfl.org, etc.
You know what we need to do? We need to I need to build a landing page so when people come there, they can see all the groups and they just get directed to all the groups. We need to set that up.
You're right. Yeah, we need to do that. And we have a YouTube channel also. If you go to YouTube, type in a plantbaseddiet.org, that YouTube is kind of a chronicling of speakers at our events. Every speaker that's been to one of our events is on there. You can watch their stuff.
Okay.
And then you can watch everywhere that my wife Denise and I go out to eat. Okay, like we go everywhere, and you'll find what to order vegan. If you type in a restaurant, you might come up with one of our YouTube videos because we've probably been there, ordering vegan food. So that's all on there.
All right. What's the YouTube channel? I'm actually looking it up right now.
Oh, same thing. A plantbaseddiet.org. Just type that in on the YouTube search bar, and it should pop up.
Like one word. Okay, I see it.
All one word. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. You found it.
Yep. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna make sure I subscribe.
So we have our most recent festival videos are up there. I think the most recent festival we did was in Fairfax. So we've got a video from T. Colin Campbell, Dr. Barnard. They're up there. There's some great talks, and of course we got Marcus Watts. If you go to Ocala Fest,
that's right. That's right.
You can watch Marcus's talk, hear about his story. Actually, if you go look at that video.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I go share that. I just subscribed because I wasn't subscribed to it before. So
yeah. All right.
Well, dude, thank you so much. You know what I'm saying, Mike? I know we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of cool stuff that, that I know that we're going to do here in the future. And yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on and get to share, the mission and just everything that you've dedicated yourself to, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you on board and that this thing is growing, Yeah. It's just growing. Like I said, an awakening is happening. So I'm just so thankful to be living in this time now that it's happening.
Yeah, man. Me too, bro. Well, dude, thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. See ya.
Hey guys, Marcus here. Listen, I'm so appreciative of you guys coming and checking out the podcast. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen. And if you know someone that this would help, please share this podcast with them. Help us to reach as many people as possible and make a serious impact. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you get alerted when every new episode releases.